What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ryan, and welcome to another Nootropics 20. Nootropics 20 is, as you would imagine, 20 straight minutes of talking about nootropics. We decided to do this long form, video kind of format interchangeably with some of the 7 or 8 minute videos that we typically do, just to kind of put a lot of nootropics information kind of condensed into one long video, so folks don't have to kind of keep searching around for stuff. Sponsors. We are brought to you by, all this content is brought to you by a couple sponsors. Number one, we have a stack. It's called Cortex, powerful pre-made stack. Look, we got about 50 bottles to sell at buy one, get one free. That special is going to end probably, by Wednesday at somewhere around 5 p.m. Eastern time, unless we sell those 50 bottles before then, which we might. So you have to get on it now. Coupon code is GET1, GET space ONE. At livecortex.com. However many you buy will match for free. Your invoice will not show your free bottles. You just have to use the coupon code. If it applies successfully, you're good. Get that at livecortex.com. If you need my help in formulating stacks and then working with you to perfect them for whatever output that you need, brain performance-wise, get our Nootropics consulting service. That is what it's there for. If you're looking to skip 5 years of nootropics experimentation and just sort of understand how to induce certain mental states on cue and how to formulate stacks in an expert sort of way, get the Nootropics Masterclass. It's a 1-hour video course that actually teaches you that stuff. Buy that at livecortex.com. And last thing, if you're a guy that needs to raise testosterone and you've tried everything, I was there too, and then I figured out a protocol, 9 things that really does work. Turned it into a protocol, a product basically. It's called the Viking Testosterone Protocol, and you can get that at livecortex.com. All right, so yeah, first question is actually on testosterone. We touched on it yesterday. The question was, look, I've been working on boosting my testosterone. My numbers are at 686. That's pretty good for total T. That's really good, but I still have low libido. What's the problem? I would say the issue is either a serotonin signaling issue or more than likely a dopamine signaling issue. As we discussed yesterday, it's not just about testosterone for libido, because if you could have super high test and low libido if the neurological libido signaling mechanisms are not functioning well, and really you're talking about dopamine signaling in the nucleus accumbens. So you have to work on that. As far as the solution for that, perhaps mildly dosing uridine 2-3 times a week to upregulate dopaminergic receptors would be helpful. I don't see that really as a long-term fix for libido issues, but what I am suspecting is that 9-MeBC might be that. There's some pretty interesting studies showing that there's some permanent upregulation of dopamine receptors using 9-MeBC, and somewhat sparingly. That's something that I'm experimenting with myself, and I don't have much of an answer yet. So I'm going to, sometime in the next month, maybe 2 months, I'll have answers. I really want to do this comprehensively, so look forward to that. But yeah, you've got to work on dopamine receptors and getting that whole signaling process working correctly. Question number 2. Only subtle piracetam works for me. Guy's taking 800 milligrams piracetam, a 300 milligram choline bitartrate quantity within his B complex and morning supplement regimen. And in that, the guy says he feels like a subtle increase in processing, better working memory, generally functions better, and has a little more alertness. However, all the other racetams and kind of all the other stuff that we talk about has not been particularly effective for him. Guys basically saying, what should I do? Absolutely nothing. I mean, I don't know the extent to which you have experimented in changing doses in your stacks in small milligram increment quantity, and then retesting, and then journaling it, and then doing an analysis of it, and then changing the stack again, and then retesting and journaling, which is the process to get a stack perfect. Which is, comprehensive and, painstaking sometimes. That's why most folks do not do it. I'm telling you, most folks just don't take the time to perfect a stack. So I don't know how you've been working that. If you had a good methodology to rework some of your other stacks, I bet you could get them to function really well. That's the kind of stuff we teach in the Nootropics Masterclass. So I would say you're a perfect candidate for that. Otherwise, though, if you did all that correctly, don't do anything. You've found a combination of stuff that works. I would say that your brain's probably just a little sensitive to all these modifications of neurotransmitter quantity. And look, a little bit of stimulation of cholinergic receptors and improved blood flow and oxygen, which is what piracetam is doing, is all you need. And a lot of people wish they were like you. So honestly, I would, if you haven't really worked the the stack formulation methodology, I would do that first. But if you did, then just keep taking the stack that you're taking, but cycle it, 4 days on, 3 days off, something like that. Let's see. I can't really quite understand this. Oh, here's my stack schedule. Modafinil 2 days in a row, an oxyracetam stack, non-specified, 2 days in a row, and then an L-cartheocrine stack on day 5, cycling off on the weekends. Is this good? Well, I don't know your doses on L-cartheocrine or oxyracetam, but I would say yes. This is actually a great example of how you should have a weekly schedule. So when we do consults with people on nootropics and stack formulation, eventually once we figure out what works really well, because we've dialed in stacks going through that process, what we do is get them on a schedule. And okay, so like stack 1 we figured out works really well, so take that days 1 and 2. Stack 2 we figured out works really well, we dialed it in. Take that on day 3. Stacks 5 and 6 we dialed in and they work really well. Take one on day 4 and then a different stack on day 5. That's really the most optimal way to do it, because you're tricking your brain in a sense and not giving it the chance to develop tolerance or side effects from nootropics. You're kind of just varying it. So I actually think that's super great. That is along the lines of what I do most of the time, varying stacks in that way. Next question. Hey Ryan, I've been taking some nootropics, mostly racetams and huperzine A, and I'm having 2 intense dreams. What should I do? Well, that is, first of all, the huperzine A is definitely going to give you intense dreams. I mean, all that extra free acetylcholine floating around, which is kind of what huperzine A does, is going to stimulate cholinergic receptors, and then you're just going to have a flood of brain acetylcholine. And that will give you intense dreams. You're also taking racetams too, so I don't know what your choline sources are or if you're taking those. And so I imagine, you've got a lot of that chemical, just sort of free acetylcholine floating around and doing that. So I would back off of the racetams, try halving the dose. I would remove the huperzine A and then go from there. But it's usually choline centric when you're having intense dreams. It's just something that happens. I had an employee in my previous company, tech company, and his name was Rob, and he was a vegetarian. And I was like, dude, you gotta eat beef, you gotta eat fish. And I finally started to get him to eat fish. And within about a week of eating it like twice a week, he was having intense dreams. And that's probably because the bioavailable choline quantity in fish. I got him to eat some beef too. That's always gonna be the case. You have to dial back the choline. Next question, or really I guess a statement. Only respond to low-dose DMAE, but it's spotty. I get good feeling, then lethargy, then a good feeling, and I'm at 40 milligrams. What should I do? Look, I don't think you should do a whole lot there. Maybe add a B complex with your DMAE to sort of help that all that free choline. So look, what folks don't understand about DMAE is that it's essentially a choline molecule. That's what DMAE is without one of the methyl groups. Folks always say it's a precursor or something, or building block to acetylcholine, but it's not true. What it does is increase choline concentration in your blood by inhibiting choline metabolism in peripheral tissues, if that makes any sense to folks. And what that does is put free choline in an accumulating sort of way. It enters the brain, stimulates cholinergic receptors. You start making more acetylcholine probably from that point, and then you get an effect. So it's very, very, very powerful to take. It's like not suggested for women to take when they're pregnant, because DMA will, again, change choline metabolism in peripheral tissues, and probably women who's supporting a baby needs choline metabolism in peripheral tissues. It actually causes some issues with the fetus if women take that. So that's why it's much more complex mechanistically than glycerol phosphorylcholine or citicholine. You're just talking about different mechanisms. So I would even take that dose down to like 30 milligrams and then add a B complex and see if that helps. And maybe maybe take it, then go do a workout, and then sit down and work and see if your brain performs better, because you're going to activate a lot of that free choline while you're working out through muscular contractions. Hope that makes sense. Okay, recently started nootropics. I got a sample pack of Noopept, piracetam, oxiracetam, and aniracetam, and all of them give me lethargy. Okay, so he broke down the Noopept dose and the piracetam dose. The Noopept dose is 30 milligrams. Okay, so that's your answer on the lethargy there. 800 of piracetam. That really shouldn't give you all that much lethargy. Number one, we don't know your choline source or dose. So if I did, I would better be able to kind of help you there. Your Noopept dose is entirely too high. Yeah, it's cholinosensitizing, man. So it's just going to optimize the way that the efficiency with which the brain is sending and receiving the neurotransmitter acetylcholine. And when you do it at such a high quantity, again, it's kind of like this DMAE concept where you got too much free choline accumulating, and your neurons do not know what to do with it. So whatever the response is in that case, some sort of downregulation of it, or a homeostatic overcompensatory regulatory response that makes you sort of have brain fog and lethargy. That's what's happening. Despite what people think, most people respond a lot better to lower dose Noopept. I mean, I always have. I can take 13 or 15 milligrams, but I have to stack it with minerals and a B complex. And usually it's better if I go to the gym right after, so I can work out a lot of that extra acetylcholine, maybe throw in a really, really high choline burning racetam like phenylpiracetam in the mix. And so that's kind of what I would say about that. You're probably just one of those fortunate people, really, because you'll end up spending less money in the long run, who responds better to lower doses of everything. And that's what I would do if I were you. I'd be low dosing all this stuff. I would probably stack the Noopept and the piracetam together, both low dose, oxiracetam and aniracetam together, 400 and 400 low dosing, but I think you'd be fine. Next question comes through about a B complex. B complex is giving me insomnia. What should I try? Well, if a B complex is giving you insomnia, it's for two reasons. I mean, you already have high concentrations of B vitamins in your brain as it stands, or you're not excreting a high quantity of B vitamins in your urine, which you should be doing, because that's essentially what you do with extra B vitamins. So I would, if I were you, just looking at how the body works, I would try to look into what mechanism determines how much B vitamins you excrete in your urine if you take a supplement and have excessive quantities of B vitamins. That's what I would look at. If you can't find an answer there, I would then look at which of the B vitamins is most energy producing, and you might be looking at B6 or B12. B5 has a lot to do with acetylcholine and its synthesis, so maybe that's a route to look at. But otherwise, strategy-wise, what I would do is I would just split the dose in half. If it's a tablet, break it in half. If it's a capsule, dump half of it out and then take it. I think I would also take a mineral supplement, just a general run-of-the-mill mineral supplement with it. And right before bed, probably like an hour or so before you're ready to kind of hit the pillow and go to sleep, I would be dosing 400 milligrams of theanine. I think if you do all that, you'll fix your issue for sure. But, if for inquisitive minds, go look at the pathways of B vitamin excretion in the urine and try to understand exactly why you're not peeing out a whole lot of it or as much of it as you need, or why you're accumulating too much of it. And the answer just could be your dose is way too high in the B complex. A lot of B complex, most B complexes actually come with really high doses of each of the Bs, with the exception of like folic acid or something. So that's what I would say. Next question. Pycnogenol, is it worth it for brain performance, for nootropic purposes? So pycnogenol is nitric oxide and blood flow enabling, as far as I can tell mechanistically. And so what that's going to do for brain performance is almost like a low dose ALA will do, which is kind of just like mildly clear it out. Also like a low dose piracetam, just kind of clear the brain out and give you a subtle light on your feet kind of energy over your baseline. That's what pycnogenol does for me if I take it by myself. by itself, by myself. I'm usually by myself when I take nootropics, for the record. I take 50 milligrams of that stuff. I mean, once a month. I don't know. I just don't mess with it all that much. I did for a while, just to sort of see, because I think Jesse from Axon Labs, the guy that makes the, they have a stack called Nexus. They have pycnogenol in their stack. So I was like, that's kind of interesting. Should I experiment with it? I kind of want to just understand it. And yeah, honestly, to be honest, it worked better for erection quality than it did for a nootropic because of this nitric oxide and blood flow thing. Nitric oxide is like, basically what is helping you to have an erection because that's facilitating blood flow, and testosterone is what activates the nitric oxide, that cascade of things that equal an erection. So yeah, pycnogenol is better for that, in my opinion. You could stack it with piracetam and vinpocetine and probably get an interesting experience on it. Ryan, I have an 80-mile bike ride and I'm taking 200 milligrams of modafinil and it is not cutting it. What should I do? Wow. Good question. Hard to say. I mean, first of all, your diet has to be super dialed in. If you're gonna be doing an 80-mile bike ride, you need like salt tablets, you need hydration multiplier or something. You're gonna need to be constantly infusing salt into the mix through your bike ride. Hopefully some way to infuse carbohydrates, some sort of liquid drink that's bioavailable, that you can get, good glucose or cane sugar or something in there. That's the first thing. Other than that, I actually worked with a guy who was a professional bike rider, and we figured out a combination of things that allowed this dude to muscle through that and felt really great. And it was not modafinil. In fact, we tried modafinil, obviously, and it did not function all that well for him. What we did was we did somewhere around 50 milligrams of modafinil still, just to keep that background modafinil functioning. But we actually brought in like 10 milligrams or so of yohimbine, and I think he dosed that in like the first 40 miles. In the middle of it, he dosed 10 milligrams yohimbine, and then in the latter 40 miles, in the middle of, actually this guy was doing 100 miles, so the latter 50 miles, he dosed 5 milligrams yohimbine, and that was enough to take him through the whole bike ride. And he kind of just was like, yeah, I felt really good. I mean, I crashed afterwards. Obviously, it's a lot of energy expenditure. I had to recover, etc. But during that acute time, he had a lot of energy to just keep pedaling, and that's just because of this, pretty massive release of catecholamines that takes place when you take yohimbine. We're talking about epinephrine and norepinephrine. So that's what you want in that case. You just want to have those catecholamines releasing to keep you energized and to kind of keep things flowing. It's also going to, as an aside, help you burn more fat, because that's really the chemicals that mobilize, especially belly fat, to be burned as fuel. So yeah, I think that's also what's helping him too. He's like burning fat and using that as fuel. I don't imagine it's very, very HIIT-like when you're doing a long bike ride. You're sort of doing lower level, less intensity cardio. So your body, is relying on sugar reserves, but it's also going to be burning fat at the same time to help fuel you. So, yep, I would try the yohimbine strategy. I bet you'll get some good results from that. Hope you do. Ryan@livecortex.com if you'd like to keep me updated. Next question, Noopept dosing schedule. That's literally the email that came through. Noopept dosing schedule, ? Well, I don't know what you're doing it for. So, let's just say that you're a college student and you're trying to, you're studying and you're wanting to retain information, and then, you're taking tests and trying to get yourself, make some progress in whatever you're doing. I would say that what has worked for me in the past is very low dose Noopept, almost like microdosing Noopept, 3-4 milligrams every 3 hours until you reach like 7 or 8 or 9 milligrams. If you're doing 3 milligrams every 3 hours, you'll reach 9 milligrams Noopept and then stop there. You just want a subtle bump above your baseline, and that would do that. Just sort of subtly dosing it. If you're talking about over the course of a week, then, I wouldn't take it any more than 3 days with Noopept. I'd be cycling off it the other 4 days. And then for the other 2 days, just like take different stacks. You can take cholinergic stacks if your brain can support that, meaning you don't have side effects from it. But otherwise, I'd be focusing on like serotonin or taking adaptogens or maybe working on dopamine with modafinil or something like that. Last question pertains to workout fog. Basically, a guy is working out, and after every workout, He's getting a substantial amount of brain fog. Wow, man, that's opening up Pandora's box, because it could be so many things that's causing that. The most obvious ones are that post-workout, you're not repleting stuff that you burned, especially if you're lifting weights. I've seen people go into full-blown fatigue for days, not eating enough protein post-workout. I've seen people go in full-blown fatigue for days, not eating enough carbohydrates post-workout. Fat really doesn't seem to matter. Obviously you should get it for hormonal support and stuff, but it's usually carbs or protein. The other thing is salt. Salt is a huge thing. It's like, if you ever super sweated and you taste your sweat, it's very salty, and it's not going to all of it reabsorb back into your skin. That is salt expending from your body from your workout. Salt, biochemically, is one of the most important chemicals for you to have in your blood and tissues for energy production. So, I'd be looking at that. I'm 35 years old, and these days, I can't go to the gym workout without salt. I just don't feel as good. So, I always talk about this. It's called Hydration Multiplier by a company called Liquid IV, and it's just a salt satchel of 500 milligrams or so, cane sugar and some lemon flavor. So you just put it in a drink. It doesn't taste like salty. It's really good, actually. It's like a lemony and sweet, and then, a little savory because it has salt. And I'm usually 500 to 1,000 milligrams of sodium on a workout. Now, I do HIIT, so I'm punching a bag and I'm doing high intensity training, so I'm burning a lot of sodium. I'm losing a lot of sodium. I am breaking a sweat within the first 5 minutes of my workout. So that's what I'd say. But also, it's very critical for me to get protein and carbs post-workout. I just have to do it. So I'm eating, these days, spaghetti with a bunch of butter and salt, and then like a protein source like chicken or beef, usually piece of beef, just small piece of beef, just to get the protein in there. But yeah, folks don't realize this, you're not 20 anymore, and if you were 20, you could get away with this stuff. And so folks think, oh, this is how my body's going to be forever. It's not, where you can just go work out, kill yourself, drink, have hangovers, and your body's just like, all right, you wake up the next morning, you're like, I'm straight. It's just, as you get older, that's not how it works. You need to be repleting stuff because you're burning stuff. It's this process of breakdown and usage of certain chemicals, and then repletion. That's how you build. The fastest way to adrenal fatigue or low test via high cortisol and other health problems is to be working out pretty heavily and not repleting, and not just sort of being conscious of how you can give yourself everything you need after the workout. That's it. Thanks so much for being with me through the Nootropics 20, guys. Remember, we got about 50 bottles of the Cortex stack to sell at buy one, get one free right now. So coupon code GET_ONE gets you a bottle of Cortex for free per what you buy. Look, your receipt and your invoice, very important, guys, very important, will not say that you have free bottles attached to your order. The way that you know it worked is if you enter the coupon code GET_ONE, once you've added 3 bottles or 6 bottles or 1 bottle of Cortex to the cart, and you hit apply, and then you get a little message on the top that says coupon code applied successfully. That's how you know it worked. Buy one, get one free on the Cortex stack right now. Definitely our highest selling, most popular deal we ever do when we run it. It's just, we just move so many bottles, and that's what we have to do. We have 50 left. So that's going to end the moment that we sell 50 of these bottles. So think about it. If you want to get on that and one of those 50, go to the website, do it. If you see coupon code applied successfully, that means it's still up and you got the free bottles. Go do it now. Buy one, get one on Cortex. If you need my help on formulating stacks, we have a consulting program. Look, man, we just help people get their stacks perfect. And formulate stacks for them, and then help them to get them perfect. Do that at livecortex.com. If you want to kind of bypass all that and just learn everything for yourself, not have to deal with me, get the Nootropics Masterclass. It's essentially like a consult on steroids. Look, it's so powerful. People that are 2 years in are like, man, I feel like you now. I can formulate stacks. My stack I haven't perfected. I figured it out just using one of the principles. I'm functioning awesome. You got to get it. Nootropics Masterclass. Buy that at livecortex.com. If you're a dude and you want 9 solid things that are proven to raise testosterone, get the Viking Testosterone program. That was like a year-long endeavor of heavy research and experimentation of raising my own test, finding something that actually works and is not bullshit, and then putting it in a protocol. Look, if you're a dude and want to be more of a dude, get the Viking Testosterone protocol. You can buy that at livecortex.com. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. More content to come soon. And we'll talk to you next time.